Welcome to the Boston Art Podcast,
Boston's premier art podcast,
where we talk art, culture, and philosophy.
My name is Theodore Earthworms.
And I am Brian Huntress.
Welcome to the show.
About how you were a terrible scheduling coordinator.
That's not true.
I'm just kidding.
That's disrespectful.
I take it back immediately.
Better.
It was a joke. God damn it.
I just took a break today. My brain said, no more.
No more. Theo, there's something that I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
We come across a shocking amount of people, not our interview subjects, but just people that we talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That don't really know how to talk about art.
Interesting.
Or they kind of feel like, I don't know if I want to use the word intimidated, but they kind of feel like talking about art is like talking about philosophy or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's like this like...
We were discussing this the other day.
Yeah, it's like this like highbrow, like if I was like, oh, and James Foster Wallace and blah, 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 Nietzsche and blah, blah, like, I don't know. Like if you were, I don't know.
It's like you gotta do the reading to participate.
Yeah, and that's bullshit, obviously.
Yeah.
That's
you know, though, I kind
a whole bunch of baloney.
That's how I feel when I'm in a room full of musicians, though.
Right, which is interesting because being a musician, I feel like I actually feel the same way about that.
Understandably.
But actually, no, that's actually a good comparison because when you talk about music, because you've had this experience, do you want to talk about your experience talking to musicians about music and how you feel about it?
Did we talk about this before on the air? Or was it
I don't think you've talked about this on the air.
Okay, well...
How do you feel when people talk about music to you?
Well, I don't mind when people talk about music to me. It's not a thing where it's like I get mad or like I have like a feeling about it, but I don't feel qualified necessarily. And I think that something, I don't know, I was about to say that maybe musicians do this more than artists, but maybe I just feel that way because I'm a visual artist and I'm biased, but because it probably is a thing with visual arts too, and that's maybe why we're talking about this. But I think that in my personal experience, like my anecdotal lived experience, musicians will jump down your throat if you say something inaccurate about music, and it makes it so that I get more satisfaction most of the time, unless it's someone that I'm actually like friends with that I know is not going to be a douche about it, to just listen to what they're saying and absorb it and think about it. Unless it's like, if it's opinions on like a band that I listen to, that's kind of different. But if someone's like I don't know, it's like a different language when someone's like fully in the lingo and they're just not acknowledging that you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. If they're like blah blah blah, distortion pedals, guitars and octaves and I'm just like, I don't fucking know what you mean. I do not know what that means, so I'm not gonna weigh in a conversation like that, you know what I mean? And I think that maybe there is a comparison with visual art that I'm just like kind of a douchebag and did not notice when I'm like blah, 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 abstraction, cubism, like this is a reference to historical painting by blah, 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 blah. Like, I guess there is required reading that I don't think about, but it's also not really required because at the end of the day, they're just paintings. And I guess that's probably true for music too, but I think it's maybe more of a social thing where if you are in a room with people who are using terms you don't know the meaning of, even if it's a completely different topic, like if somebody was talking about like fucking, I don't know if it would be comparable, but you know what I mean. You're not going to want to just jump in and look like a moron, you know?
This kind of actually reminds me of a broader topic that could be actually very useful to discuss, which maybe we could hey, you fucking piece of shit. I wish I could get out of my car and just fucking punch that person in their face.
They're texting, we can see.
Fuck you. We're recording a podcast and driving. Is that just as bad?
It waves at us. Oh my god.
You waved at us?
Like 3 minutes later while he's veering into the breakdown lane.
Do you think that this
Did you
makes
hear the rumble strip?
Our listeners anxious?
The driving sounds?
Yeah. We don't do many driving podcasts these days.
I feel like it's part of our like Boston branding. That we'll be in the middle of the plot.
Hey, fucking
like,
you
fuck
piece of shit! Hey! Get the fuck out of the road!
Why are you doing a different accent?
What accent was that?
I don't know, it was like a bad New York maybe?
Bad New York. Fuck you. Anyway, but what I was gonna say was this kind of could lead into a conversation about the difference. What am I trying to say? So think about writing like in communication, there's professional writing or expert writing, which would be an expert or professional writing something that is meant to be read by other experts and professionals in their field.
Okay.
This might be like a medical paper is written to be read by other doctors, not by just some guy.
Yeah.
Or somebody like a scientist, engineer writing a paper about robotics to be read by other engineers.
Yeah.
Like that isn't meant to be understood by the regular person. It's meant to be understood by other people.
And in that, like, what that means is that it's probably using really technical language.
Yeah, technical.
Like industry-specific language.
Yeah, and it's assuming a lot of, it's assuming that the reader has a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Pre-existing knowledge or experience about the subject.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know if there's like a better word for this, but maybe it's even could be considered journalistic writing, where like, have you ever heard that? I don't know if this is a real thing or where. I think I just learned this in school a million years ago, that apparently like newspapers are supposed to be written so that they can be read by like an elementary reading level or something.
I've heard that as well.
Like they're not supposed to be like college level.
Yeah.
Like articles are supposed to just be very, very consumable and easy to understand for anybody.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think that's a good principle, because the news and journalistic intent, I think, in that context at least, supersede aesthetic principles. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? Like, good writing, bad writing is out the window. It's just whether or not are we accurately communicating information to the intended audience.
And that's something that I think a lot of people need to remember. Like, I don't know, I guess I can see both sides of it. Like, if you're a musician and you're in a room full of people that will understand your technical language, that might not be... Like, I get really excited when I'm at, like, a gallery space or an artist space or something, and I can talk to people that are within my industry that understand what I'm talking about and actually care. Because I do understand that that's not the daily experience. Like, you probably can't just go to a random place and expect that the person you're talking to is going to understand the technical language. So if I'm entering a space where there's a lot of musicians, like an open mic or like a show or something, and they're doing that, it's not really a thing where I'm mad about it, because I'm kind of on their turf in a way. But it's also a little bit, like, it might be something to keep in mind for the person that is doing that, to not be exclusionary with their language and understand if there are people in the room that aren't contributing. It might be because you're being a little bit gatekeepy, subconsciously. It's not a crime, but maybe, like, make sure that you're including everyone if you want everyone to participate. I
think part of the problem too is that me and you, I think even in this conversation right now, aren't acknowledging a very underrepresented skill set in media and in art, which
Making
is
things translatable.
Which is being a communicator.
Yeah,
being a science communicator, an art communicator, or whatever. Like, some you could think of off the top of your head, like Bill Nye, science communicator.
Yeah.
Fucking Hank Green.
Yeah.
Science communicator. Bill Nye, the science guy. Did I already mention him?
Yeah.
I might have already said that. Okay, Bill Nye twice. Or like Vsauce. I don't know. It's like people who translate things into regular language in an entertaining way.
Any good professor or teacher that you've ever had, by the way, not just people that are famous. Like, if you are in a college class and you're reading at a college level or whatever, what is happening in the classroom, which is helping you do the reading and is why a lot of people don't just self-educate, is the professor that is being a conduit and saying, okay, what did we learn in this chapter, and making it easy for you to understand and answering questions and translating it. That's the role of a professor.
Yeah.
To help you get through the text.
What a weird thing. I think that's what I want to be more than anything in the world, is just like a communicator. Yeah. Not necessarily like, I mean, I want to be a good communicator in my life to the people that I know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just like the idea of storytelling, entertainment, communication, like, is the most exciting thing to me and the most inspirational, because I think literally everything I do is either a form of that. And if I'm doing something that isn't a form of that, I feel compelled to make it into a media communication situation. Like, and I used to think that was because I was like, you know, like a young narcissistic internet age, like idiot that like put everything online. But there's a lot of people our age that don't do that at all. That are just regular people that sign into Facebook like once a month.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't think it's like just some dumb blanket statement generational thing that I was born with a computer in front of my eyes and now I'm like a self-absorbed like idiot that tweets every thought I have or something. You know, this is a very like 2013 like thing, like archetype. You know what I mean? Now we're just talking about like Hypnotoad, Gen Z, TikTok things, but I think that that's what I used to think about myself. Like I was like a part of that, but I kind of think that that's kind of like a little bit dismissive and not fair to my actual interests and passions.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I think that I just legitimately care about sharing information and trying to entertain people.
Yeah. And the thing about that too is like talking about the value of that skill set. I think we've talked before on the podcast, this is something that I'm pretty passionate about educational equity and people being able to have access to information without, like, okay, let me scale back a little bit. Imagine you're someone who has a hard time reading or understanding text like that. Someone who's never been exposed to it, somebody that maybe has, just an issue processing that information while they're reading it on a page, because I'm one of those people. Like, if I'm reading text, it's really helpful to also be in a room with someone who understands it, that can kind of talk to me through it when I'm learning something new. And without those people, that's a barrier to that information, and it's not really fair. Like, should conversations about something as, like, innately human as art and music be held behind a glass ceiling of a certain level of education for you to even access them? And it's not really the fault, I guess, of the people that are, like, at that open mic event or at that show or whatever, that are talking about these things that they love, that they did the learning for, to be able to have that level of conversation. But it's also kind of unfair if you're somebody who's just entering the space for the first time and you don't understand anything that's going on, even though you showed up and showed out, you know? Because there are different ways of learning. So people that have that ability to communicate and can recognize when someone is being left behind like that and rope them in so that they can understand the terminology and participate going forward, those people are really important to the growth of a space and to individual people's educational experience. Because that is an educational barrier, if you think about it.
Yeah.
That a lot of people take for granted because they have that information already. But everybody started somewhere and everyone felt like an idiot at their first show or their first art opening or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, most people, I think, that feel like that would never even go to an art opening.
That's also true, actually.
You know? Which is fucking bullshit. Because there's a lot of really good reasons to go to an art opening. I'm going to kind of sidebar here a little bit. But, like, for example, I saw a TikTok that went viral the other day that was so fucking funny.
I was going to bring that up.
Because it was so true.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I saw it, because you reposted it or something.
You liked my repost.
Okay, cool.
Just saying, I found it first.
Okay, so Theo found this really hilarious TikTok that was basically saying that if you go to an open mic, not an open mic, if you go to an art opening, almost every single one of them just has free wine or beer or drinks that you can just go drink. You could just go take them. And if you want to pregame or get drunk or like go have a fun night, you don't have to go spend $150 at a bar.
Yeah.
You can just go to an art opening.
Yeah.
And get drunk for free and see some paintings. Or more likely not see paintings, but see a bunch of like weird, completely intangible art installations.
Yeah. That
you don't understand or care about.
And you know what's sick about that too? Is that any artist putting on a gallery opening would love to have you. Because especially if it's the opening night of an exhibition, which is usually when people will have like a reception or something like that, having bodies in the room and people showing up, it doesn't matter who you are. That looks really good for them because they can post those photos to their social media. It's more clout for their the opening of their show. People came, like, that's a big deal. So even if you're just going for the vibes, that's what you're supposed to be there for.
Seriously. And I'm going to shout out Fort Point Art Community real quick for something hilarious that happened. But they put out a newsletter recently, and the newsletter featured a big photo of a bunch of people in it was a newsletter about like connectivity and like we're all here for the community or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Not making fun of them, obviously they're fine people, but the picture was blurry and black and white, a big group of people all hanging out and having fun, and then in the foreground of the picture was in full color and it was two people hugging or something, or handshake hugging. and the photo was from my art opening there, and all of the people in the background were my brother's friends getting drunk at the art opening. And the picture was my grandpa and my brother's friend saying, "Hey, what's up? Good to see you."
That's awesome. That's so funny.
Because it was nice ad copy by them. It was like, like, we're here for the community. All are welcome in our art spaces. And that's cool that they did that. But the photo was just so fucking like to me personally, it was just so funny. Because it was just my grandpa and my brother's drunk friend.
And they hugged. That's cute. No, but that's actually a really fucking good example. Because the other thing is, nobody at that opening that wasn't in your family knew that was all your family and your family's friends and stuff.
It just looked like a banger exhibition.
And it was. And you sold fucking pieces at that exhibition because the room was full.
Yeah.
Sorry to, expose you, but...
No, that's okay.
That is... Time. If you are somebody who doesn't go to art openings and you feel weird about it, just fucking go, because that's all they want from you. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to know anyone. You just show up, drink beer, and leave. It's free, it's fun, and it's literally no catch. I could not stress this enough. Because the worst thing in the fucking world, I don't know. I haven't ever played an empty show, so maybe that's pretty bad too, but having a gallery opening where you're standing there alone in an empty room with paintings on the wall, that is miserable. That is the worst thing in the world.
Oh, yeah, so I would say that playing an empty room is not even remotely as bad as a gallery opening where nobody shows up.
Yeah.
The gallery opening that's empty is like pure misery and failure, and it's grueling, and there's a bunch of cheese and crackers sit in a charcuterie board that you bought, just getting flies eating it, and
it's
the wine's all warm.
Your birthday party.
That's how it feels with
It's bad.
An empty show for music is a run of the mill. That's all the time. Nobody cares about that.
Well, the other thing too about gallery shows is that it's really hard to book a gallery show and a reception.
And
if you bomb, that gallery's probably not going to book you again. That's really fucking hard because it's not a very big circuit. It's really difficult to get yourself in there because it's competitive. And then once you do, if nobody shows up, even if it's not your fault, that looks really fucking bad and can actually have pretty bad consequences.
It's kind of almost similar to that. I forget her name, but there's a TikToker that went viral sometime last year because she went to I don't know if it was VidCon or Comic-Con or something, but I guess when creators are invited to participate in those conventions, they're like, oh, do you want to have a booth? Do you want to do a panel? Whatever. So she signed up to do a meet and greet.
Yeah.
And the entire convention was packed, and she was just standing at the meet and greet, and it was just a ghost town.
Oh.
And somebody filmed it, and it was just fucking awful.
Someone filmed it?
Or maybe maybe it was her video. Maybe it was her post.
Okay, that'd be better.
I hope it was her post. Maybe I'm otherwise I just... But yeah, that would be brutal.
Yeah, so go to art openings.
Go to them.
Get drunk for free and see weird shit. Take photos of yourself in a gallery because they're great for your Instagram, and then leave. That's all we ask of you.
And then just fucking leave, man.
Yeah.
And maybe the artist will have the best night of their life because you got too drunk and bought a $2,500 painting on your credit card, and you can cry about it for the next month with your nice piece of art.
Oh, also another thing that I've personally
the next year and a half straight.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding.
Something that I personally witnessed happening is first dates at gallery openings.
That's a good idea.
Huge flex.
That's a good
really
idea.
Looks good.
Yeah, it makes you look good if you brought that's what you mean? It makes you look good to your date? Yeah, I agree.
It makes you look very cultured, especially if you go up to the artist and ask for their Instagram or something, because the artist will be over the moon, unless you're weird, but don't be
Unless
weird.
You're weird, yeah.
Yeah, don't be fucking weird. That's easy.
Wear deodorant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even wearing deodorant, that's lower level than being I don't know. Anyway, don't be fucking weird. I'm not your mom.
Wear a clean shirt. Comb your hair.
But then once you've handled the basics, go to the art opening, bring a first date from Tinder or Hinge, talk about art, talk to the artist, and just get drunk for free, and then go do whatever else you want.
You know what's funny is that advice actually only works
if you're cool.
No, if your date is a good date. Can you imagine if the person that you brought out to the date ended up being a nightmare person? Or just you weren't the bad date.
They were the bad date?
They were the bad date, and you
complaining.
brought them to an art opening, or they were just some kind of fucking...
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm not a fucking marriage counselor. You have to figure that part out on your own. But
I wasn't actually poking holes in it. I was just thinking of a
okay.
hilarious,
That would be pretty funny.
insane.
Well, then
story.
it's a win-win situation because then you're at an art gallery with a bunch of people that are actually cool.
You
So
can
just
ditch
your
them.
date.
Ditch them.
Go to the gallery opening, bring your Hinge date or your Tinder date, get drunk for free, look at cool art, buy some art, follow the artist on Instagram, ditch your Hinge date, date the artist. Win-win.
Win, 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 win.
Speaking of which, we went to Encore recently.
We went to the Encore Casino.
Yeah.
That was actually, that's a cool thing to talk about. Because, you know, it was a kind of funny reaction to, because, like, as longtime listeners will know, we are not the type of person that would go to casinos. Like, we're just not casino people. Listeners will know that I don't even drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not in that, like, it's just not my vibe. What am I getting at? Oh, so it was a very, very fun, just wacky twist. It was a birthday surprise for me by Theo
Yep.
to go to Encore.
Well,
So that
okay,
was
we
fun.
have to back up a little bit and explain why I went for Encore. Because we have this thing going at this point where we've been trying to outdo each other with gifts for a little bit.
With birthday-like things.
Yeah.
Birthday surprises, birthday gifts.
Because I think it started with, you bought me last year really sick sneakers that I'd wanted for a while and I didn't expect it at all. And they were kind of more expensive than what I was expecting, so I thought we were just doing something low-key. And you threw me a birthday show, which was really nice. Because
That was
we
the
just...
birthday before that.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
We've been in Plymouth for... That's crazy. Okay, anyway.
We weren't in Plymouth when that birthday show happened.
Oh, the sneakers were this year. Oh my
This-
god, it's December.
Yeah,
right, well-
you're conjoining birthdays.
Well, still, you were doing pretty good. So
Thank you.
Then for your birthday,
Good reviews.
Yeah. So then for your birthday, I got you tickets to Young Gravy, which you didn't
That
expect at
was
all.
fucking awesome. I forgot that was a birthday present.
It was a birthday present.
That was a slapper of a birthday present.
It was fun because you like to do ridiculous things sometimes, and it
I
seemed
like
a
wacky
ridiculous
stuff,
thing.
and I like Young Gravy.
Yeah. So it was great.
Fucking sue me. You know what it smelled like?
I don't drink often, so that's what happened. Okay?
Old anybody who used to vape like 10 years ago
You say
will
that's what anything.
will
smells like
remember
bubblegum.
will remember a
No.
vape juice called Unicorn Milk.
Ew, dude.
That's exactly what the beer that you were drinking smelled like. It was a very popular vape juice. Just
Thank you.
saying.
We're
I'm
not
sorry.
even- I'm quitting the show.
There's at least one person listening right now that just went, I used to smoke that shit. Holy shit, I know exactly what that smells like.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Anyway,
yeah.
so that happened, and then this year for my birthday, Brian surprised me with going whale.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were gonna say something else, and I was gonna say, no, the whale watching.
Wait, what was I gonna say?
I don't know what you were gonna say, but I was gonna tell you to talk about the whale watching.
That was my birthday gift.
Yeah,
so what would I?
fucked up. I was wrong.
That's okay.
It was a surprise whale watching trip.
Yeah, and it was a real surprise. Like, I genuinely had no idea what it was. Me and my friends were trying to guess for like a week and a half. Nobody thought of it. And then we were driving on this random road in like, where were we?
Gloucester.
Gloucester. Yeah, so we drove a long time. I'm thinking because we live on the South Shore by the water that if it was whale watching, we wouldn't have left. So I didn't think it was that. And we were driving really far, and then all of a sudden we pull up on this road and there's a big sign that says whale watching, and we just pull in, and I was like, what the fuck?
Your jaw dropped.
I've never been on a boat in the sea. It was crazy. I've never seen a whale before.
It was nice.
We
And
saw a baby whale.
there was a bunch of whales. We saw multiple whales breach out of the water, do the,
Which
do
is apparently a really big deal.
whale jump.
Yeah, the
where
person doing the whale watch was like freaking out because I guess that doesn't happen very
that
much.
lady was like a whale weeaboo.
I loved her. She had a
Yeah.
tattoo of one of the whales that we saw.
Yeah, she was obsessed
Yeah,
in a good way.
Her name was Spoon. The whale, not the
right?
yeah.
Not the person.
I really liked her. She was nice.
Yeah. Shouts out to that whale watcher,
Yeah.
whale expert.
I feel like I should like know her name, but I don't.
Well, she was just a random tour guide at a whale watch from last year.
Credits too.
Yo, shouts out to that tour guide. You were the shit.
If you're a tour guide on a whale watch in Gloucester and you have a tattoo of a whale named Spoon, we're talking to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was pretty high stakes. So then Brian's birthday's coming around, and they also were really worried that we weren't going to do something cool for their birthday because their birthday is the week of Thanksgiving, and they have birthday curse.
I have birthday curse.
A little bit.
Mild.
A little bit.
No.
So you're worried about the birthday curse, and you were like, nobody loves me. So I got us a hotel room at Encore.
And we went gambling.
Sort of.
I was high rolling, dude. I won some serious bills, dude.
2 bills. 2 single dollar bills.
Yeah, basically I spent over $70 gambling, and I won about 80 or 90, spent more of that, and ended up breaking even at I left with the same amount of money, plus $2.
Yeah, $2 profit. It's pretty good.
But I was up a little more than that for a while, and I was like feeling good. What do they call it? Hot hand?
Yeah, it was getting a little scary.
I had hot hand. I had a hot hand fallacy.
You were like, this one slot machine loves me.
Yeah, I thought that it was weird.
You were falling for it.
It was so much fun. As it turns out, I fucking love gambling. It's awesome. I don't think anybody, it's like I wouldn't recommend anyone do it because it's like similar to like recommending that somebody go try like, I don't know, dude, like you should really try Klonopin.
You awesome. Did recommend it. You made a TikTok telling people to do it as a full-time job.
That was obviously a joke. It was obviously satire.
You know what I really liked about that TikTok? Is everybody in the comments being like, no, dude, you're an idiot.
Dude, no.
You can't do that. Also, the fact that it was scripted by me, and you can tell because you can hear me saying, okay, so next frame, you should say this.
And we just included that in the video.
Yeah, the next frame, that's what you said.
Yeah, you definitely get credit for that video as well.
I scripted it.
Written by Theodora Earthworms.
But yeah, so that was kind of weird. It was a fun time.
But yeah, so now we're back. Now we're like 1-1, neck and neck with birthday surprises.
And my birthday's next, so the pressure's off a little bit.
Yeah, we have
Christmas though.
Yeah, but that's not a Christmas surprise isn't really a thing because
That's
Christmas
true.
is for everybody.
Yeah,
So
Christmas is more like a cute. It's like my brain just conjured the word saccharine, but I don't know if that's what I mean.
Yes, Christmas is definitely saccharine, that's for sure.
Doesn't that mean like sweet?
Well, it does, but it usually means sweet in a way that is too sweet. Like if something's like so happy-go-lucky and sweet and funny that it's like, oh, come on, this is dumb.
Interesting. That's not what I meant exactly.
Like if you described a movie as saccharine, you might be talking about like a bad rom-com.
No, I meant more like it's like it's sweet in the way that like a cinnamon spice bread loaf is sweet. And the presents should be on the same tier. You know, like pajamas. Something funny and meaningful. Something cute. Oh my god, I saw the fucking coolest centerpiece DIY on TikTok the other day.
Alright.
I'm on Mom Talk, alright?
You're on Mom Talk?
Yeah.
You're on a lot of different talks these days.
I am, dude. I don't know. I'm a multi-dimensional being. But I saw this thing that said that when you have people over for Christmas dinner, so I'm mad at you that we don't have a house yet, by the way. Okay,
let me just find $300,000 real quick.
Yeah, get on that. You take mason jars, fill them with water, put cranberries in the water, and then put little tea lights on top because they'll float. I thought that was fucking crazy.
Oh wait, like tea lights floating in mason jars full of water?
With cranberries in them.
Oh, that's cool.
Not baked cranberries, like whole cranberries because they float like they're in a little bog.
That's
and
a
then
nice
you put
idea.
the little tea light on top of the cranberries, and then it's like this little cranberry tea lights in the bog.
I think a lot of people do that for like weddings and stuff.
Yeah, it was like
a
that.
floating candle centerpiece.
And then there was another one.
Look at that.
What the fuck?
Yo, hey, is that a mural of Spoon the whale?
No.
It said Spoon on it.
No, it says Spooner.
Oh, okay.
For Spooner Street.
Alright.
Plymouth Cordage Company. It's a fucking rope factory mural on the new condos going in front of the old rope factory.
Rest in peace to all of the factories of the 19th century where workers were abused and died, and then the buildings became empty corpses only to be inhabited by boomer artists.
Shout
the boomer
out to
artists
everybody.
all passed away and were evicted, and now they are condos.
Shout out to anybody who's growing up in a currently being gentrified town.
Do you know you want to hear a prediction I have that I've told so many people and probably have said on the podcast before, and I really believe will be true in the future, is that if you think about it, like the reason that factory art studios exist in the United States is literally because of like 19th century industrial American life, factory life, where literally the main passage into wealth or stability for any lower class or person was to get a job at a factory.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking had to do that. Like, there was no option.
Yeah.
Well, that was like the main thing. You know what I mean?
It was the most
all the way up
option.
until like World War II, post World War II life is probably when it started to end. Okay, so those factories were all filled with people that actually worked at factories, like making fucking like thimbles or like watches or like whatever the fuck you would make.
The thimble factory.
Probably, I could guarantee that exists somewhere.
Yeah.
And eventually, I don't know, I can't really speak on like the exact like political and economic story of how this happened, but eventually America decided to exploit completely like slavery level labor in other countries, which allowed capitalist manufacturers to make their products like for like 1,000% less money, which eventually caused all of the factories in America to be moot and antiquated.
Yeah.
Which created like probably thousands on thousands of abandoned buildings around the country.
Yeah, that are very specifically designed for factory work too.
That are designed for factory work, yeah. Like, and you know, that's why in literally like every quote unquote like up and coming neighborhood like in the world is like all like a sorry, I'm like getting on, or like it's all factory style industrial exposed beam ceilings. Like that trend was born out of the repurposing of factories. And once upon a time, throughout I would guess from the post World War II America all the way up until the early 2000s, it actually was a place where it was completely dirt cheap, very affordable, and the factory artist communes were born.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Famous examples might be, you know, Andy Warhol's Silver Factory, or like, I don't fucking know. I'm sure there's millions of artist communities that have existed in factories. And now they're all starting to go away in the last 20 years.
Well, another thing too is that at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is true, it was much more sought after to be living in the city than it was to live in the suburbs. Like, people were moving in that direction, and I feel like it's just as expensive to live in the suburbs in a condo as it is to live in the city in a tiny apartment now. So maybe the demand for those spaces was less, because who wants to fucking rehab a factory when you could just buy... Because also another thing with all those factories going out of business is that most of them had housing around them. Like Cornish Park in Plymouth, a bunch of the neighborhoods in North Plymouth have... the structure of the streets and the housing there came from the houses of the factory workers. That was part of their deal, is if they worked there, they could live in these buildings that were surrounding the factory. So there was a surplus of housing in those areas, and now we've reached the end of the line where that's not a thing anymore. People live in those houses, and now it's desirable to live in a warehouse. Right.
You see a surplus of housing that eventually turns into like affordable, like factory style condos, air quotes, affordable.
Yeah.
Surrounding houses that cost upwards of like $600,000-$700,000 that used to be little tiny homes for factory workers to live in.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like, I think maybe I'm talking completely out of my ass at this point, but
so am I, the whole thing.
The aesthetics of living in a warehouse building, like, that's very like Instagrammable. It's very sought after. Where like if you look at a place like that, it's like exposed beams, white walls, brick or whatever, that makes you think of like New York City penthouse. So who gives a shit if it's in Carver? If you can still take those photos, that's what your apartment looks like. People will still pay. You know what I mean? People.
It's a very stylish and aesthetically desirable place of living.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I'm not even talking shit about. I would love to live somewhere like that.
Sure.
But it's been priced out of my market, so.
For now. But where my prediction is that in the next 50 years, with the acceleration of like AI technology and like virtual assistants, and like, I think that we're going to see administrative jobs like data entry, like call centers, like fucking shit like that, where like I think eventually computer programmers are going to figure out a way to convert an office building of employees into a computer server with no employees, or with very, very limited employees, where it's like, think about it. When you call the Apple store, for example, it's like you're talking to an AI that makes your entire appointment for you, understands you, like tells you when to be there. Like, it just like that used to be a job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think what's going to happen is the same thing that happened to factory workers in the 19th and 20th century, is that we're going to have thousands and thousands of office buildings.
Yeah.
Where it's pointless for companies to continue renting them.
That's already happening.
It's already happening. And what's going to happen with all these office buildings? Are we going to have, like, because we look back on like factory life of like, you know, like from like the 1800s all the way up to like Rosie the Riveter. Like, there are many different ways to romanticize, you know, old American factory aesthetics. Like, people really do that. And I think it's because it's an era dead and gone, and we look back on it and like, wow, what was it like back then? And like, we could see through media like Mad Men or like other like weird office-y corporate romanticism shit, we'll start to see the death of the administrative building rise with the brand new trend of like office corporate nostalgia, where people start to romanticize the dead era of the administrative building.
So something about that, though, that's actually an interesting point of contention because remote work and the pandemic and people working from home has actually really impacted that a lot, obviously, which has left a lot of office buildings empty. But there's actually, that's kind of a point of contention right now in office spaces and like HR spaces, because if you have proven that all of the jobs within a certain organization can be done from home full-time, what is preventing you from outsourcing those jobs for cheaper labor to other countries or to other people instead of keeping employed the staff that you currently have? So a lot of offices,
that's an interesting point as well.
My job personally, I'm required to be in the office 3 days a week, and the reason is because that's job security for me. I mean, there's also certain things that I have to do from my office, but in theory, if your job can be done remotely, it does not have to be done by a college graduate in the United States that's asking for a salary. So that's the flip side of it, is that, I don't know, I personally like working from home, but
of course,
there's also, I wouldn't want to not have a desk at my office, you know, because of that threat. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually shakes out, because there might be some resistance to that going forward, to be honest. I don't think there will be until there starts to be consequences, but at the first company that starts like firing their employees and doing something like that, people are going to want to be in the office again. Maybe
Facebook and Meta is doing that right now. Didn't they just lay off like 1,000 or 10,000 people or some crazy fucking number?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, that was a huge news story like a few weeks ago, where Mark Zuckerberg was in trouble because Facebook lost like a couple $1 billion and in value, and also laid off like 10,000 people in the same week.
Weird.
Yeah, and almost all of them were work from home employees.
Oh, not surprising.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. All of those jobs can be not automated, but maybe they could. I don't know. It depends.
In the future, I think that they will, because like, look at that weird thing.
You never seen that? That's the Duxbury Dragon. It's a local landmark.
The Duxbury Dragon.
Yeah.
Nice. I liked it a lot.
I think that's also the name of the local sports team. That's why it's there. But
probably.
That thing has been there for years and years and years.
I think I might have seen it before. I forget.
It's on Roadside America.
Do you think that there is a person out there that we could speak to that in some weird way is specialized and qualified to talk about specifically the history of the factory building in the United States?
Yeah.
Like, is that a person?
A historian. There's definitely...
Well, like somebody who's like knows the history and life and cultural significance of a factory building all the way back from its inception and how it was brought over here from England, basically, and then how it and what that means today. Like,
Yeah.
how do we find that person? Who is that?
Probably LinkedIn, to be honest.
Type into LinkedIn, brick building specialist factory guy.
Well, are you looking for someone who, in a generalized sense, knows about that, or somebody who's like Cordage Park specifically?
Well, I think it might be a little bit boring and possibly too niche to do it about one building in particular. I would be more interested in discussing the general significance of factories in America.
So do you know what my real answer is for that, actually?
Yeah.
Because I actually know how to do that.
Is it an off-air answer?
No, actually, I'll
Oh.
put it on the air because I feel like it's good information to have.
Oh.
But you would want to go on somewhere like JSTOR or somewhere where somebody had made publications about the history of something like that, find out who the authors are, and then find them on LinkedIn and see who you would be able to talk to.
Interesting. Yeah, perhaps I can try to...
If you're talking about somebody who's like a scholar.
Yeah, that might be cool. That would be the best type of person to have on the show for that. Do you want to hear another idea I had for an episode?
Okay.
That I would like to put out on the air? Because I'm going to do my own individual research to try to get somebody to talk to us who does this kind of thing.
Okay.
But I can't speak on it too much because I don't know enough about it yet.
I think it's kind of fun to put our bucket list of episodes on the air sometimes.
Yeah, it
But
is.
as long as we're not promising a date, because then maybe if we forget about it, someone will say, hey, are you going to do that thing?
And somebody listening might it might spark something in their mind where they might DM us and be like, hey,
Yeah.
my aunt does that or something.
Maybe we should start doing a weekly wish list segment.
A wish list.
Be like, do you know
That's
somebody
a fun
who knows
idea.
this?
Yeah. One thing I would submit to that is I found out that there is a specific type of job that literally it's a law field specifically specializing in art law.
Ooh, that's cool.
Art law in terms of art sales, collecting, museums, ownership, like lawyers that specifically deal with provenance, ownership, shit like that. Like an art lawyer.
That's very niche.
That
I wonder
sounds
how
cool
you
as
get
shit,
there.
right? Well,
Yeah.
I researched it a little bit. I barely scratched the surface, and the only thing that I have determined is that there are a pretty decent amount of law firms in our area that do that.
That
So,
would be really cool.
it's probably a long shot to just hope that a lawyer whose time is worth like $700 an hour would just talk to us about something like this, but
Yeah,
maybe
that's
they
true,
would.
actually.
Maybe
we
somebody
could
would.
Maybe they could use it as an opportunity for advertisement for the firm.
There you go. We'll trade you all of our many listeners who need an art lawyer.
You know what I think? Maybe I shouldn't say this on the air, but I don't know. I'll say it, and if you think it's a bad idea, just scrub it.
Okay.
I feel like when somebody offers us something in exchange for an episode, it feels like a trick. Like I'm pulling one over on them.
Oh, like we're tricking them?
Yeah, like it feels like when you go to an art show and at the end of or like an art market or something, and at the end of it, someone who has something fucking sick that they made comes up to you and trades it to you for a zine or something. And I'm like, I'm giving you nothing. Like what I have to offer has no value. But it's not true. I know it's not because it has the same value as what they're offering. Otherwise, we wouldn't both be in the market. But it feels silly because it's a thing that I made.
Yeah.
You're gonna cut that, aren't you?
No, I wasn't. I was just thinking about a time in my past that I cringe at whenever I remember it, where I was at a market and somebody offered to trade something to me, like they wanted something, so they offered to trade.
Yeah.
And I said no, thinking that it would be like I actually really like to sell this. And I thought that it would be like totally chill and understandable, but it was like it seemed to be kind of hurtful.
my God.
It was just a very uncomfortable moment that I didn't expect that I was responsible for, I felt like.
Well,
I know that I have the right to want to get the price for the thing that it's like I get all that, but I was just like, man, that was a dick move.
Of you?
Yeah, I felt like it's such a douche. Like I was like,
Well,
wow.
it depends how you said it. I don't know.
I
It
don't
sounds
know.
reasonable. It sounds like not that weird of a thing.
The person, it really took the wind out of their sails, it felt like.
I want to know what they were offering you. It's probably too specific.
Oh, I would never say.
Tell me later.
I will. They're a very nice person, though.
I understand.
And I wish that I didn't deeply offend them and hurt them.
I've said no to art trades before. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes people offer you something that it's like, it's not because the quality of their work is bad, but they're just clearly giving you a bad trade. Like, one time I had someone offer me a sticker pack in exchange for a ceramic bowl that I made.
Yeah,
And I
that's
was
not
like,
the
do
same.
you think I'm dumb?
That's not the same, yeah.
This is clearly like a $5 sticker pack.
Right.
You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no. No, thank you.
One time I traded a person, it was a really interesting trade because it was also a ceramic artist, and I traded them a clay head for I still have it. It was a tiny ceramic hand on a like leather rope necklace.
Oh, cute. Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, I have it somewhere.
They gave you that?
For a clay head, but the way we determined the trade was she was like, I have this for $30. Do you have something that you're selling for $30?
Yes, I actually think that that's a really respectful way to do it because you've already established, like, you set your own price. So you have said, this is of this much value to me. If you just go up to someone's table and randomly offer an item with an abstract amount of value to someone else for something with an abstract amount of value, you're just saying, I have this and don't want it. You have that and I want it. Like, that's kind of disrespectful.
There's some tact required.
Yeah, but if it's the same sticker price, then I've put forward that this is worth this much to me. You've said the same thing. They're equivalent. It's kind of an honor system thing, because obviously they set their own prices. But, I mean, that's more fair, you know?
Yeah. I haven't been in a situation where I could potentially trade art to somebody in literal years.
Yeah.
Like, probably the last time I did that, I was probably like 22. I don't even remember the last art trade I made.
The job that I just got is the first job I've had in actual years that has allowed me to work markets on the weekends.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about trying to get back into that circuit.
I really enjoy them.
It feels like a bit of like a misconnection, like a one that got away thing in my mind where I miss doing art markets a lot.
Something that I noticed about myself with markets is that I used to generate artwork that was completely different than what I typically generate for that kind of space.
Yeah.
Because I really like making tactile items. Like, I don't know if this makes sense, but I feel like I create items that would be something that I would lose my mind over if I found them at a thrift store, but only when I know someone's going to be shopping in person. Like, something that they could pick up, look at, this is so fucking weird, this is weirder than anything else that's here, kind of shit. But you can't really sell shit like that online because it's an oversaturated medium and it's not going to be as interesting. Like, if you were at a market and everybody was selling just like, I don't know, like, say it's like the kind of space where people have like patches and dolls and like weird fun shit that's handmade, and I brought like the plate series that I made for the last market I did, which was a long time ago actually, that were thrift store plates that were printed with like fucking antique screen prints of like babies, and then I painted over them and used resin to encase beetles from Africa that I got on the Oddities website on them. It's just like weird, like kind of dumb but fun tactile shit like that.
Yeah.
Something like that doesn't sell online in my experience.
No.
But if you found that at a market for $20, you might buy that.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me that's really fun to kind of, like, I usually go into markets operating at a loss, to be honest. Like, I know that I'm spending money to be there, but
Gotcha.
I really enjoy doing it because I feel like it's really good outreach for me. I meet a lot of cool people. Sometimes I make some trades for some weird stuff, and I get to create items that are just for that.
It has expo value.
Yeah.
Which is, sorry, I yawned loudly. Was kind of a rude. I didn't mean to loudly yawn while you're talking.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I was listening.
Okay.
Because I was going to add on to the fact that it is true that in terms of like one-to-one like monetary value, you probably are operating at a loss, but the expo value would be, you know how people sign up to do like, oh, it's a tattoo expo at the Boston Convention Center.
Yeah.
Like, they don't need to make shitloads of money in a sense because they're kind of buying marketing value by being a part of it or something, you know what I mean? Where you get to hand out like infinite flyers and free things and promotional things, or what a corporate weirdos call it, like swag. Yeah. Corporate swag. Just to like get your shit out there.
Yeah, oh sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I was just going to say, because it is a very common cliche that the whole paid in exposure thing, it's a big load of shit. You don't want to be paid in exposure, but you also need to be smart enough to accurately appraise the exposure on the table. Yeah. Because sometimes there is some exposure that is like, you know what I mean? That's like, damn, that's some shit.
That's an interesting thing to talk about, actually, because I feel like I've been seeing takes from people recently that aren't in the arts market. Like, people that buy art, collect art, people maybe that aren't visual artists but are musicians or something, that are advocating for artists and talking about the exposure market and saying that that's bullshit. And that's true. Like, I think that that's a really good take to have and a good stance to have. But I think that the thing that it should be noted, to build off of your point, that is problematic about that isn't the concept of exposure, because you need that. It is the concept of someone giving you something. Hold on, no, back up. You giving someone something of monetary value in exchange for exposure and them proposing that, because that is disrespectful. That's disrespectful and ripping you off. But the fact that to get exposure from something isn't a stupid or bad move. You need that. They're different concepts.
Because think about this too, is that most people who are offering to pay you an exposure for something are not offering exposure at all.
Yes,
they're full of shit.
True. Yeah.
They don't have exposure to give you. They're fucking lying, and you're being duped in a sense. You know what I mean?
And
And that's where the idea of being able to accurately diagnose what the value of that is, like what if there is real exposure, if it will even be worth it.
You know what's an interesting parallel to that I don't think really existed as a market when I first started thinking about this concept, but totally does now, is the influencer market.
Yeah.
Like,
in what sense?
That's what they offer. Like, if they go to a restaurant or they go to a spa or they're approaching a brand, like, those brands and restaurants and whatever aren't going to give free shit to somebody that is just a liar or that has like 200 followers on Instagram.
See, that's a good way of comparing it in the reverse.
Yeah. So if you are the person who has, like, I guess the supply person, which would be the artist in the situation or the restaurant or whatever, that has the item that they're trying to market, and then the person that's saying, if you give me that for free, I can make sure other people want it. And you have to know if that person is like speaking to you with the tongue of Satan or if they're for real. Because if they're for real, you should do it.
Yeah.
You know? But only one time and only if they deliver.
Yeah.
But it's not stupid, it's not a crime to make actual deals that do give you that leverage, because that is called networking. But don't give up anything that's like of extreme value either. Yeah. Like, I guess an equivalent thing maybe would kind of be like the sticker pack for a bowl situation. It's like if you're visibly getting ripped off and you're not going to get anything from it. Like, don't do free art for a local band that's never going to cite you.
Right.
But maybe if your friend's band, someone who's nice to you and has helped you out with other shit in the past, you help them out and they actually do promote the shit out of your work and have you do like a table on their tour. Maybe that's kind of different, you know? There are situations where maybe it's not that bad.
I agree completely. I don't know why, but I'm randomly starting to physically crash right now.
Have you eaten enough?
Maybe I haven't.
It's 1 o'clock.
Is it lunchtime?
I don't know. I'm not that hungry, but it could be. It's been a couple hours since we ate, actually.
Yeah, and when you eat Dunk's food, it is like eating...
you know, I'm not hungry because
shit trash.
Yeah, it's corporate food. Yeah. I didn't eat my food until like 20 minutes ago. That's why I'm not hungry.
Oh, well, good for you.
Do you want the other half of my
I'm mad now, yeah.
This has no cheese in it.
Yeah,
here.
Fucking hell yeah, dog.
Snack.
Oh, yeah.
There was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember now.
I don't know. Maybe talking about getting paid in exposure is making us kind of stressed out.
I find that really interesting, though. I used to get really pissed thinking about that, but networking and social currency is really fascinating to me right now.
I completely agree. And here's something to consider, especially for bands, because this is very common with bands, where they say like some like sleazy ass piece of shit promotion company owner hits up a band and says, hey, like, fucking, I need you to sell 25 tickets to play this show. There's going to be tons of people there. It's going to be huge exposure. I can't let you keep any of the money because I need to recoup value, you know, from the organizing and event fees and, like, you know what I'm saying? But you're going to get a lot of eyeballs on, like, what you're doing. It's going to be a big deal for you. All you need to do is sell these 25 tickets. Idiot, young, brand new, novice band members are going to work themselves to death selling those tickets, give like $1,000 to some like shitbag, like idiot, like promotion guy, play a show to a bunch of people that don't give a fuck at all, get nothing out of it, and then cry in the car on the way home.
Yeah. And
feel like they did something wrong. Like it was their fault that they didn't like properly capitalize on this like great event that like some fucking douche canoe that like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
And
I don't know.
I don't know if this is true for music. It seems like it is. It's definitely true for art. Nobody's career was made off one show.
You don't live in the results.
Yeah.
You don't live in the results. It doesn't matter if you played a show to 10,000 people. Those 10,000 people go home and move on and look at something else.
Yeah, it's about consistency.
You gotta keep doing stuff.
Yeah.
You don't get to do one dope thing. You'll end up like BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
Watching reruns of his own show. We just watched the pilot to that the other night. That's why I remember that.
It's true, yeah. You know what else is something kind of adjacent to this that I was talking to a friend about a few days ago that I kind of want to talk about?
Yeah.
Mainly I want to bring it up because I thought of a cool analogy, so I wanted to know you want to use it. But I was thinking recently about, like, when we're talking about social currency and networking and, like, who you know, what you know kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Cash and credit in social currency.
Cash and credit in social currency.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's my analogy, right? I feel like there are people that network, like, I think that the idea of networking transactionally is not inherently problematic, but I think that there's a giver and a taker way of having a transactional relationship with somebody. And if you know people so that you, like, for example, if you have actually, maybe that's a too specific example. I'm not gonna use a real life situation.
It's okay, keep going.
If you know people and you think that they are like pieces of shit, but you stay friends with them because you're gonna get something out of it, or if you know people and you're nice to them only because you might get something out of it, and there's no genuineness in your relationships with them, that's like cash networking. That's like cash social currency, because you have what is in your hand right now. They might be able to help you with your next big thing, but they don't trust you, and they know that, and you know that, and that's okay. Like, some of that is not a bad thing to have, because that's going to get you quick results. If you're like, hey, I want this and I know that you can get it for me, that person might do that for you if you have an amicable relationship. But if you are building a network solely out of goodwill and you're like a giver and you're connecting people that have cool projects because you think it would be cool if you did, or you're just going out of your way to do acts of kindness that cost you nothing. Emphasis on costing you nothing. This is not an exposure point. This is more of like, I know this person and I know this person. They don't know each other, but they would be really cool if they did this together. Or this person's looking for an expert on this and I know someone, I can do that. If you are that connector, what you're building is social currency on credit, where maybe 5 years down the line, you need something from this person. It's not, I'm next to you every day and can you do this? It's going to cost you nothing. Please, please, please. Like, can you do something for me? It's, you know that I'm a good person. I've helped you out. It was a while ago, but I've generated goodwill based on my actual character, and you know that you can trust me. You know I'm a good recommendation. I didn't turn into a piece of shit overnight, and it will cost you nothing. You're way more likely to be able to cash in on that down the line, even if you don't have something to offer. Which means if you're in a bad situation, if you're down on your luck, if you've been having bad projects running, those are the people that will pull you back up again. That's your credit score. And if you are a piece of shit and you're only friends with people because you know you're going to get something from it, nobody's going to fucking help you. Nobody's going to take that risk. Nobody's going to recommend you with their name attached to it. Like, it's important to have ethics in your transactions, even if they're just social interactions, when you're networking with others.
You will have a bad rep.
Not even just a bad rep, but when you think about having a good rep, if you have a reputation of being honest and helpful, that will get you a lot, even if you don't have something to give. But if you're the person that is around, even if you're not a bad person, because I think that's an important distinction here, like if you are hanging out with people and people know that you're there because they have something that you don't have, they're not maybe going to think that you're a piece of shit because you're probably not the only person doing it, but you're not anything special. You know what I mean? But if you're there just because of the vibes and you're not taking, and you take what you need and what benefits you when it's offered, or you propose a transaction, even if it is transactional, and you're like, I have this and you have this, but it's actually beneficial to that person, you're showing that you're thinking about that and you're actually present in your negotiations, people notice that. You don't have to have cash in hand to get what you need. And I think that is important when you're talking about distinguishing real exposure. Because somebody that is like that, that's offering you an exposure opportunity, is somebody that you've built a rapport with that you can trust. That you know is going to do something that is beneficial to you, or offer you something that is beneficial to you. You should still check your sources with anybody on any business transaction, like make sure, but...
Your fiduciary responsibilities.
Yeah, but don't take an exposure opportunity from the cash guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
And don't be the cash guy, you fucking piece of shit.
Right. Another thing too that has been like a big hard lesson, I think, as well, from at many points in my life, that I think could be something that kind of just comes with age, is being able to actually see when somebody is selling to you. Like when somebody is selling versus when they're actually speaking like candidly about whatever it is they're seeing or trying to tell you about. Because like, as somebody with experience selling things and with experience trying to get things that I want and leveraging opportunities and stuff, like, I don't know, man. Like, everybody knows. Like, it's like the car salesman doesn't tell you if the AC's broke while you're buying the car during the winter, because you're not gonna fucking know if the AC's broken. It's gonna blow up cold air, even if it's not air conditioned air.
Yeah.
You'll know if the heat's broken, but you're not gonna be able to diagnose if the heat's broken in the summer. They're not gonna fucking tell you. They just want you to buy the damn car.
Yeah.
And like, people will do that to you, and even that's easy to understand because it's so fucking simple. But when it gets so fucking abstract, and it gets so much more covert.
Yeah.
With just like manipulation and just kind of like fucking people over, and
especially when you're talking about abstract markets like art and music, where a lot of the currency that you're going after isn't cash in hand. It's like the attention economy, because somebody, I don't know, it's weird. It's like there's almost an element of it, like, to reduce it a lot to an almost disrespectful point, it's kind of like when you're in high school and someone tells you that if you go to this party you can be popular. Like, there's a little bit of that economy going on, and there has to be, because that's how you build your like base of people that are like interested in what you're doing. But it's really, really easy to get the wool pulled over your eyes when someone's talking to you about that. You know what I mean? And maybe some of that does come with experience. Because there's some shows, I feel like I'm at the point now where, with markets and stuff, as soon as someone sends me an event flyer, I can tell if it's going to be bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain things that make it so obvious if this is going to be like a dumb show. Not always. Sometimes everything is perfect and people just don't show up. It's not
right.
An exact science, but there are red flags that I never would have picked up on a couple years ago.
And here's something you got to understand about the grind and the hustle of being a promoter. I use the words grind and hustle intentionally there. Okay. Of being a promoter. Is that there's two ways to be a promoter. There's two ways to make your money when you're a promoter and events organizer.
Okay.
You can make your money off of the concert goers and show attendees and fans, which is what you think is always happening, but it's not. Or the second option is you could make your money off of the people you're booking. There are promoters that leverage bands and artists, and then there are promoters that are leveraging fans. And the people that are just like trying to make money by putting on a good show and getting asses in seats, that's normal. That's a normal thing to do, because you want to put on shows, have great performances, have people have great times and see culture and whatever. But then there are people that just don't give a fuck if anybody even goes.
Yeah.
And they have orchestrated the situation directly to benefit them from the pockets of the people that they booked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's a really big thing to be aware of if you're an artist too, because if someone
young artists are not aware of that.
Well, I mean,
almost all of the time.
Yeah, I'm talking about visual artists though.
Oh yeah.
If someone
for sure.
asks you to table at their show and can't give you any information on what the show is going to be like, if they don't tell you that there's a ticket price and you show up, I'm talking about a specific situation I was in recently, and you find out that it was $50 a head to get in and you're selling your paintings for $50. Like, yeah. Shit like that, they don't give a shit if you benefit. They just want to have an artist there.
Well, yeah.
Which is horrible.
It's because they put on the flyer, arts vendors, to get people to, because
yeah,
it's like they're using you as a hot, what is the word? Not hot, a buzzword.
You're a living craft beer. Fuck that.
What the hell is this episode about?
I don't know.
What are we talking?
What are they ever about?
This feels like a classic. This is a classic episode.
It is, yeah.
This is a lot about. We've been trying for a while to figure out a good way to characterize episodes that are just me and you.
Yeah. Yeah, for the whole time this has been happening.
I wonder if it'd be funny, because we've floated the idea of calling them boys only episodes. Or we could. I wonder if they could. It's like real talk episodes
Real talk with
where it's
Theo
like
Brian.
we're getting into our opinions now. Because
Yeah.
I try not to share my opinion that too much or insert my own viewpoint into interviews too much.
Me too.
It's a good way to do it because the whole idea is to just harvest information. Basically, it's just to get the story of the person.
Yeah.
You know.
That's true. We do talk about our own opinions exclusively on these episodes, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I think. I don't know, man. I think because I feel like we would risk alienating people or kind of like. Actually, I'm completely out of steam.
You're done.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore.
Well, we got an hour in. What's up with you? You need water?
I'm physically dead now. I've lost all.
You're out of mana.
I'm out of mana. I'm done. I'm in the graveyard now.
All right.
So I'm sorry. I want to keep going, but I'm
Hey, we're over an hour.
I don't know what happened, but I'm fucked now.
This always happens to you. These episodes suck your soul.
They kind of do. Actually, that's something that I don't give myself enough credit for because, like, it does take some energy out of you to do these.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take energy to have this length of conversation without recording.
It does, though,
Like,
sometimes.
if we were just, with me and you, and with you, not really for me, but if it was a random person, yes.
Yeah.
That would cost more energy.
True.
Fuck. Do you want to wrap this?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I don't think you appreciated my cash versus credit analogy enough.
I thought it was a good thing. So you're talking about the idea of the cash transaction being somebody who doesn't have any... Like, the cash buyer is somebody... What am I trying to say?
They're only worth what they have in hand.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any cash, you're not worth anything and no one's going to do anything for you.
Oh, but if you're somebody with good credit, then it doesn't matter if you have cash or not. They know you're good for it.
Yeah.
I see.
And in a social sense, like, there are a lot of people that I can think of off the top of my head that if they asked me for a favor, I would do it without thinking about it. Sometimes even if it cost me something. Because I know that they're good people and I know that I would get that back tenfold later down the line. And that's not something you can fake.
You're right.
But there are also people who I might go out of my way for if they offered me something real, but only if they had something I would be impressed by in hand that I knew was valid. That's a cash person. But you want to build your professional network on credit relationships, and you want to be that person because that will get you much farther. Somebody that you're friends with just because you want something from them knows that, and they might offer it to you if they can get something in return. Like, it's not necessarily a bad short-term plan, but if you are loyal to only those people, the people that can really help you down the line also see that and are not going to help you unless you have something to give them. And in worst case scenario, you might even burn your bridges with some people that are more beneficial, that are better people. If you're going to do business with people, you want to trust them.
Facts. I think that's a wonderful place to leave it. I'm sorry, I'm listening to you, and the listener is listening to you. And I don't fully understand how credit works in the real world, okay? I've never had a credit card.
I check my Credit Karma every single day.
Well, maybe this metaphor makes more sense to somebody who knows more about credit, and I'm going, yeah, I think I get it.
You're not allowed to say facts to me.
Facts.
Yeah, fuck you.
I'm sorry, it's just like I'm dying now. I'm losing my...
Alright, end it. End the episode. I'm done.
But it was a good moment. You've... Alright, I'll end it.
DM me if you liked my metaphor.
DM Theo really, really resonated with the credit metaphor. I'm sorry, I couldn't give you the validation.
It's okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
All right, Boston Art Podcast.
We have an outro now. You don't have to say that.
Boston Art Podcast. I love this piano track. That's not it. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boston Art Podcast is an independent DIY production by Brian Huntress and Theodora Earthworms. The information contained in this episode represents the views and opinions of the original creators or our guests, and does not represent any institution, organization, or business. Find us on Instagram at Boston Art Podcast and tune in for a new episode every Friday. Thank you for listening.